Okay, welcome back to Conversations with Athletes, hosted by me, Abel. And today we have a very special guest on. We have Ariel Thomas that competed in the 2022 Hanoi Sea Games for Jiu Jitsu. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi.
Yay. Okay. I'm excited to talk about Jiu-Jitsu, Alex.
Yeah,
So,
that's great. Okay, so tell us who you are, introduce yourself. Who are you?
okay. I'm Ariel Thomas. So, I actually have been only doing Jiu-Jitsu for this year would be my fifth year.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I represented Malaysia for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So, there's actually two types, Japanese and Brazilian. I'm not too sure what Japanese is, but Brazilian is basically I think at this day and age, the more mainstream one, the ones that you see in MMA or uh, I guess like now in SEA Games. So I actually competed in no gi. So that's Jiu-Jitsu has like gi, which is the uniform. So no gi is when you wear rash guards and leggings, spats. And it's a little bit more like the MMA style you would see without the kicking and punching. Yeah, and I represented for under 45 kilos for women last. So, yeah.
That's really cool. Okay, so how did you come about jiu-jitsu? When did you start? You mentioned you started like 5 years ago. But where, when, why? Why jiu-jitsu?
Okay, so basically what I think it makes sense to give a little bit of timeline of like my fitness life, right? So I actually did like rhythmic gymnastics under the sports council for like 3 years when I was 7 to 9. Then I had to quit because like my studies was just pretty bad for that time. So there was like about 10 years of me just not doing anything. Like I was president of the chess club, very nerdy, very sedentary, not even like going out for a walk. I would have never done that. And then I did like an exchange program in the US, and then I gained quite a lot of weight lah. So then I started lifting weights first. I think I was 18 or 19. And then I guess lifting weights is pretty cool. Even I still do it till today. It's just that I think I got a little bit bored with it. I did want to do powerlifting at one point, but it still wasn't quite my thing. And I have actually three brothers, but two of them practice jujitsu. So they had been in the sport at the point of time that I joined it for 5 years. So I just kind of tagged along for one trial class. And I was like, okay, what is this? Like nothing makes sense. And I'm like the kind of person who just doesn't like to not know things, right? So I think ever since then I've never stopped. Like since that first class, I've been for almost every class I could. So
That's good. So
yeah.
you really found yourself in jiu-jitsu. Yes?
Yeah, because it's like I guess like the thing about martial arts and being my size, I'm very tiny. I'm only like 152 cm, is that I don't think kicking or punching is quite my element. And I don't think at least for myself personally, for as a self-defense, I would have that much of an impact. But if I could understand how to escape a pin and just to like escape like a attacker, that would have been good enough for me. And jiu-jitsu is a sport that kind of boasts that technique over strength is the main selling point of this sport, right? Like leverage is the main selling point of this sport. So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. That's nice to hear. All right, so obviously going to SEA Games, that's like a lot of kids kind of like dreams locally here in Malaysia. And what was the qualification process like to qualify
Ah,
for SEA Games?
okay. So I'm not too sure what the official guidelines is, but let me just share my experience. So to represent the country, I believe you need to have a national ranking first and foremost. So whatever sport it is, you need to rank, I think, in a certain bracket. I think for jiu-jitsu it was like the top 8, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. So they calculate that based on how much you compete around. Like there is competitions, amateur competitions locally, and then you can also like compete in like the smaller ones in Singapore. And there's also like a jiu-jitsu federation, IBJJF. So that is they have like Asian Open, World Masters. Like that's like I think in our sport that's the most popular competition you can do. So yeah, I mean, I personally haven't done one of those because they're just a little bit out of my price point when I was a student. I started jiu-jitsu as a student.
Mhm.
But because I had been competing a lot locally for the past, since I started jiu-jitsu basically, so that kind of put me in like I think an okay ranking lah. And then they would have like a trials. So there'll be like a trials, like a competition basically, and you just have to fight for your spot on to do SEA Games basically. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so it's a very competitive environment. Obviously, you mentioned top eight in Malaysia, and would you consider yourself being the top eight in Malaysia at that time,
Um,
being qualifying?
so I think because the sport is still relatively undeveloped in Malaysia compared to other countries, I think I was also there. But it's also because, very honestly, I am smaller than an average fighter. Because
Yeah.
there is I think most people, females would weigh between 50 to 60 kilos, and I just fall way below that.
Okay.
So I did have like a few competitors, but it wasn't as big as that bracket.
Okay. Very, very cool to hear. All right. So do you think that, you know, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Jiu-Jitsu as a sport is very male-dominated sport, right? Would you say that?
Yes, because like most days on the mats, it'll probably be me and one other girl, or
Yeah.
me and like at most will be like five girls on the mats, and then there will be like 15, 20 males, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, even in competition settings, it's a very, very obvious like disparity between both genders. But I do think the female community is growing a lot lately. So
Which is great to hear. And okay, so basically, like, do you think that the female kind of aspect of jiu-jitsu is just a newcomer, or has it been there? Has it been established for a very long time?
um there were females who started jiu-jitsu very early, just as early as like the more senior ranking males right now.
Mhm.
But in terms of like competition, I noticed the numbers have been going up quite a bit more. So
All right. So in your
yeah,
early days of in your early days of jiu-jitsu, did you face any struggles? As a woman competing in the sport, like in terms of sparring and training, you had to spar against men and all that stuff. Did you see
mm,
anything like that?
at least in my gym, because my gym is where my brothers go, and my brothers have been in that gym for a very long time.
Okay.
Like I know for me, it's an extremely safe environment.
Mhm.
And my coach is also he's very, very good with like drawing boundaries and drawing lines of like how males should spar with females. And he's very like eagle-eyed with everyone.
Okay.
If there's a newcomer, he'll be like, okay, maybe you don't really spar with him yet. And then he'll observe this newcomer for quite a long time and then be like, okay, yeah, this guy's safe for you to go with. So I think it depends on your gym, like really
All right.
does.
All right. Okay. And so I mean, yeah, that's great to hear that, there are more women coming into the sport. Obviously it's a big thing because every now and then, like every sport should include, obviously both genders. And
Yeah.
it's really, really cool to see, young women or women in general, compete in sport where you think men should excel in that. Obviously, which is really cool to hear. All right. So, have you faced any setbacks generally in jiu-jitsu in your short 5 years? Like any, times where you just felt like you want to quit and I can't do this anymore. So.
Okay. So I mean, there are in my sport having injuries is not unheard of. So I have had quite a few injuries, like a fractured ankle and then like another strained ankle. I dislocated my shoulder not long ago.
Yeah.
Like a lot of, and that's just like very minor compared to what most people have.
Mhm.
But I think my biggest setback was during this whole SEA Games qualifiers because I tried out for two weight classes actually.
Okay.
So the one I competed in was an empty bracket because I think literally nobody can really quite weigh in under 45 kilos. It's
Okay.
quite a weight cut. And then I tried out for one more up. And at that point of time when I was fighting the person about almost 10 kilos lighter than her.
Okay. Oh.
Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I can see how that.
It's quite like a big disparity, right?
Is it a big like challenge to fight women larger than you or heavier than you? Like will you see it as unfair if they did put you in that situation? Talk about that.
I I think it depends on your skill set. You know, let's say in a certain belt level, let's say in a blue belt level, when your skills are quite similar, then there will be an advantage to being bigger and stronger.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
if you're a more advanced belt fighting a lower belt, then I do think like, okay, your technique can supersede strength, right?
Yeah. All right. What belt are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
Sorry?
What belt are you now?
Oh, I'm in a blue belt. So there are 5 belt levels. You start at white, you
Okay.
progress to blue, then to purple,
Okay.
brown, and black. But to move on to each belt level, it actually takes quite a long time. So
And
yeah.
roughly how long is that?
They say the average is 10 years to a black belt,
Wow.
but
Right.
it truly depends on how much time you invest, how your learning curve goes as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So what would you say, you know, about jiu-jitsu being compared to like karate and taekwondo? You know, a lot of people prefer just the kicking and punching, but you know, obviously this one's just solely grappling and all that. Like, are there common assumptions made about people who are involved in jiu-jitsu?
I mean, to me, comparing jiu-jitsu with something like karate and taekwondo is like apples and oranges. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't honestly, genuinely don't even know how to punch or kick. If you ask me to do one right now, I have no clue. Probably the technique's out of the window.
Yeah.
And I think they will feel the same way about us grappling. I think a more similar cousin to jiu-jitsu would be judo or like college style wrestling, right? Because those are elements in jiu-jitsu. In some way, I feel like jiu-jitsu is a bit of like a mixed martial art on its own because you have judo elements, wrestling elements, then you have your submissions in there.
All right.
Right? Yeah. So I think people still, I mean, I still get people coming up to me and be like, oh, you do jiu-jitsu, show me a kick. And I'm like, I have no clue. Like, don't ask me because
I think
I
when
can't
I
help you
first
there.
I think when I first met you, I had one of those like thoughts whether like you did karate or because like you did jiu-jitsu, like I thought you just because I know your brother Haniel, right? From
Right.
obviously from the gym. And you know, we I thought he was like into MMA and stuff. And when you told me that he told me that he was your brother, I thought you were into the kicking and punching and grappling too. So
Just a grappling part.
yeah. Oh, but would you like even like you obviously you've really developed this kind of skill for grappling and you know like tugging and wrestling basically. Would you consider trying out for MMA?
Honestly, no. And it's not because I think it's like a bad sport. I think I just don't have enough time and energy to
Okay.
go into that. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I did fitness full time, honestly, maybe I would have actually gone into that route.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
And
Just cause
sorry, finish.
no, just cause like fitness is like part, like an aspect of my life and not my whole life, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, cool. And you're currently working now, right?
Yes, so I actually just graduated last year and I started a
Oh,
corporate job. So
congratulations.
thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So do you see that working is also kind of a form of finance for your jiu-jitsu?
If I'm being completely honest, I think being a full-time jiu-jitsu person in this country, or maybe just in general, is quite difficult on its own. You need to either be, I feel like, very, very superior in your skill set and well-known and everywhere competing, or having your own gym, being an instructor and having a reputation that people trust you as their instructor.
Yeah.
But definitely, if I didn't have a corporate job, I think doing jiu-jitsu would be very difficult. Because like even when I was a student, I just basically worked just for jiu-jitsu, like part-time.
Yeah. Talk more about that. How did you balance out, you know, going for training, going to school, and you know, how did you balance that out? Was it hard? Was it easy? Was it so?
The honest truth is that I'm perpetually exhausted till today.
Okay.
It's like you're never fully rested because something has to give, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, because jiu-jitsu in itself, at least in my opinion, is a little bit of a costly spot because of like the gear that you wear. Fees can be pricey depending on gym, or at least for me, I invested in like two gyms because I did lifting to supplement my jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And then there's like for me, I'm a bit picky on my nutrition as well. So I
Yeah.
funded my like healthy foods and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think it just like comes down, at least for me, like even right here, I have like a planner, and
Yeah.
it comes down to just like being very disciplined.
Okay.
Like yeah, I just don't do quite a lot of things.
Okay.
So
So the advice you would give to people that are just trying to balance, not jiu-jitsu in specific, but any sport with school, with work, you'd say just be organized, be disciplined. Is that what you say? Like an
be
advice to you?
organized, be disciplined, but don't expect it to honestly be easy. Because I think there are days I do wake up and think like, I don't really want to do this.
Yeah.
I don't want to go to the gym, and I don't want to train, and I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I need it takes some time to learn to differentiate when to like take a break or when to push. But I think as you kind of go over the months, at least to find balance, I feel like it's not like a 1 week thing, it's like a half a year, then you find your balance.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Just give it time.
That's very interesting to hear. You know, there's a lot of sports in Malaysia that are very culturally embedded. Football, badminton, basketball, sepak takraw, but not really jiu-jitsu. What is the jiu-jitsu culture like in Malaysia?
In Malaysia. So because obviously in a local scene, we're all competing against each other, the gyms. So like there's like quite a few jiu-jitsu gyms in KL alone, right? And
Yeah.
we'll all compete against each other in competition settings. So I remember my first day of national training. My
Okay.
coach, because all six of us who went and represented Malaysia were all from different gyms. And my coach was like, by the end of this, you guys will be very united. And in my head, I was like, there's no way, right?
Yeah.
Like these guys fight my brothers. I fight this girl. Like we're all rivals. We can't really be that united.
Yeah.
But strangely, it's like when it comes to like a bigger stage, like representing Malaysia, that's when I saw all like the jiu-jitsu gyms kind of rally together to like just like help all six of us to just really like, for some reason it's like there was like no question, nobody doubted anything. We're like, okay, this is time for us to like rally together and give out our best. So
Yeah.
I think it was pretty cool to experience that. Because
Coming
by the time we were
together-
there,
coming
yeah, we
together
felt like
is-
family. It was like I knew these people for 10 years. It was really, really like so great. Everybody just kind of like helped out in terms of sponsorships where they could,
Yeah.
or even being our training partners and taking care of us during training, making sure we're not injured and whatnot. It was so great.
So it's like you would say between all the gyms, it's like a team effort to kind of grow the sport in the country.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We just want to see the scene be better and grow bigger, honestly.
That's great. That's fantastic. And I think it is growing because obviously with some help of like MMA, like UFC and all that stuff, people, kicking and punching, yes, but they mostly like the grappling part, and I guess more people are involved too. So you do have these different kind of sources to help grow the sport, right?
Definitely, yeah.
All right. So let's just track back a bit to talking about how you started the sport. Do you think, okay, this is a bit of a funny question here, but do you think fighting within your brothers is like at home, like physically fighting, do you think that kind of got you into the sport as well?
I never physically fought my brother until I started on the mats.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, I guess they could have fought each other, but at least because I'm a different gender, they were like, if we touch her, our parents would kill us. So,
yeah.
But if I'm honest, now that I'm on the mats with my brothers, they're like my most awful roles in a good way, because they go harder on me than anyone else. Because they're like, I'm their sister, so they're like, we can legally abuse her now. So.
That sounds not fun, but fun.
Not fun, but necessary lah. So
yeah. That's good. I mean, if it helps you to improve, I guess it is a good thing. And what do your parents think about obviously all of you doing this? Are they, I'm sure they're very proud of you. But did they say anything, like any words of advice to give you?
I think they just like how the sport has unified us as siblings.
That's
because I feel like for a long time, me and my brothers didn't really have a lot in common until I started the sport, and then we basically had to spend like 4 or 5 hours every day just doing the sport.
Okay.
So yeah, I think they really like how tight our bond has gotten because we fight each other in it. Yeah,
That's
weird,
fantastic.
right?
That's
You
good.
fight more and then you bond more.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best of both worlds,
Pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you plan on, taking jujitsu to the next level? Like
As in,
maybe Olympics, maybe Asian
oh,
Games, and all this.
uh, there is Asian Games. There is Jiu-Jitsu and Asian Games. I guess for me, that would depend if my weight category is in there as well
Okay.
and how the qualifiers might go.
Mhm.
Yeah, as I said, because I still have a corporate job and Jiu-Jitsu is like my other side of my life.
Yeah.
So for me, it's kind of like, where do I need to put more of my energy and focus towards, right? Or where should my future be more, or like which side should it fall heavier on? So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, do you feel that there will be a time in your life where you want to just commit to jujitsu and that will, earn you your money and earn you, I mean, that will financially protect you for like till you retire?
honestly, no, because I think I just love learning under my coach so much. And I
Okay.
love being a student a little bit more,
Okay.
if I'm being honest. Yeah.
And you feel like if you were to take it to the next level, that kind of student teacher bond would not be as good as it is now. Do you think
Not
so?
so much that. I think it's just because like I don't know. I just feel like there are people in the sport who are better and has been doing this longer and they commit so much time and effort to it already that I feel happier to like let them be the ones steering where this community grows. And I am happy just to be a part of it. So
That's good. That's good. Do you have anyone that comes up to you and asks you, oh, how do you go about doing this? How you go about like people that want to learn and that want to be new in the sport, they want to start the sport. Do you have any like young kids that come up to you and say, oh, how do I get about doing this and that?
mostly girls, like I love that mostly girls would come up to me on this. Like either like on my Instagram, like just friends I know, or some of my female colleagues will kind of be like, oh, I'm kind of interested in not just jujitsu, but like getting into like a better shape and self-defense. And I'm really, really excited to just like even if it's in my gym or any other gym, as long as they get started in something, I'm really like so happy, right? Because it's
Yeah.
quite difficult to start as it is. So
Yeah. That's nice to hear. And what about the people in your workplace? What do you think about you being a SEA Games athlete? Because it is a big deal. It is. I mean, a lot of kids, like especially locally here in Malaysia, we a lot of kids sacrifice a lot of things, just to get to that level. And you being at that level, not you having to win, but just being there. Like, what do the people like in your workplace think? Like, wow, she's really, really good, or like, or she's just doing this for fun and stuff like that. What do they think?
I think lately the question I get most is how I do it.
Sorry?
Because they ask me how I do it.
Oh,
Because
okay, okay.
my job scope is I'm an accountant, so I work for the Big Four, and my company is just not known for work-life balance.
Okay.
Like there is none of that. So they kind of just ask like how I manage to just train and do work, right? Because my work can go on from like 9 a.m. all the way to like 12 at night. So I think
Is
it's
it a
just
difficult schedule to kind of balance out?
it is, especially when you start having to go into client sites and everything.
Yeah.
But I won't lie that being in a pandemic and working from home did kind of help me figure out how to train, because I mean even in lockdown I still had brothers to train with, so it's not like I got to like I didn't need to stop jiu-jitsu at any point.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. That's nice to hear. So, obviously you just said that you might not consider, but if something good does happen, like like maybe some big break came through, like, or your coach wanted you to participate in Asian Games, or if you had a chance to qualify for the Olympics, would you just give it a shot with everything that's going on now? Of course.
Honestly, I really would. It's like I think honestly for a long time I dreaded SEA Games because it was like I think once I made it, like once I qualified, I was like, oh my goodness, like it's all like representing my country is like I don't know, it's
It's a
kind of
big
like
thing.
stressful.
It's a huge
It's so
thing.
stressful. It's like it's like, you know, when you represent yourself in an amateur competition and you lose, it's like you go home and you're like, okay, like nobody even remembers me
Yeah,
tomorrow.
yeah.
And then now it's like SEA Games is like they even put your name on like the Team Malaysia IG and you're like, oh my God, like can I just cocoon sometimes?
I mean, it's a
Like,
big thing. I give honestly all credits to you for that, and it's a big achievement as well because, as again, I keep saying this, but a lot of kids really want to be that, and you know, being that 2 to 3% that is like qualifying for what these doing it for the people that want to do it. Do you feel like that's how you feel?
for me, it's just I just wanted to just prove, not really prove. I just wanted to see how far I could go, and that's why I did the SEA Games. I just didn't know where I was at, and I just wanted to do something so challenging,
Yeah.
and this was it. Pretty much, it was so
Definitely.
difficult, but so worth it, and it's just so crazy that I actually managed to qualify somehow.
Okay. And your
Yeah.
experience at the SEA Games, was it good?
At least for me, it was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I was so, I think I didn't put too much pressure on myself, which is why
Okay.
I think even though I lost, I think I performed better than I had for a long time, because once I was there, I was like, I'm already here. I'm going to give it all I got. I'm going to have so much fun, right?
Yeah.
Like my experience here is like not everybody gets this experience. So I'm just going to go all out,
Hmm.
like win or lose, give it my absolute best. I fought like with everything I had, but yeah, it was just like such a fun time for me. It was such a, I don't know, I just really enjoyed it. So
That's good. That's very, I'm very glad to hear that. And okay, so kind of like the final finisher question, like did you see yourself 5 years ago, the Ariel Thomas now, competing in the SEA Games? Did you see yourself like that 5 years ago when you first started?
no, not at all.
Not at
Because I
all?
just wanted, again, like I wanted to see how far I could go, right? So when I started jiu-jitsu 5 years ago, my first competition was 3 months after I started.
Okay. All
And
right.
it just kind of snowballed into pushing it, like
Yeah.
pushing the boundaries each
Mm,
time
mm,
and just like kind of just going for it.
yeah.
So the fact that I even managed to qualify and just do something like this is just like still so mind blowing. Honestly, it's like a pinch me moment.
Yeah.
My biggest pinch me moment was like there will be like a final send off in the sports complex with all the other athletes,
Mhm.
and it's basically meant to like build your nationalism right before you
Yeah.
leave, get you all pumped up,
Yeah.
and that was like like a very like almost like very surreal moment when you sing Nagaraku for the first time and you
Yeah.
like really mean it and you're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
heck yeah, let's go, you know, like
Yeah. 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 And
yeah,
especially being around all these different countries, you feel very competitive, right? Because you're fighting for your country. Literally, you're
yeah,
fighting for your country.
I literally fought in Vietnam.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I fought in Nam, you know.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So we always do this kind of small little thing at the end. It's called this or that. So you're gonna choose whether it's this or that. Okay.
Okay, let's go.
PM training or AM training? Okay. This one's a bit what, because I always see you're always in the gym in the morning, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So which one is it? PM or AM?
AM because I'm dead by PM.
Oh, okay. All right. All right. Understandable. Are you a carnivore or vegetarian? Carnivore slash pescatarian or vegetarian?
You know, I was gonna say vegetarian, and I realized I'm having steaks for dinner.
You can be one or the other. One or the other one. It doesn't have to
I
be.
do love I love both, honestly.
Yeah.
I eat. I'm very balanced with that. So
Okay. I'll just put you in the more carnivore section because you have a little good piece of meat.
okay, I don't celebrate with a salad, but I celebrate with a steak. So let's be a carnivore here.
That's
So
good. That's good. All right. I was gonna ask you Brazilian Jiu Jitsu or Japanese Jiu Jitsu, but I'm just gonna ask you WWE or UFC.
um WWE, not because of the technique, but because of my childhood memories of watching it.
Okay. Okay. Because both of them kind of have the aspect of wrestling inside. So which one do you prefer more?
Um, WWE is more performative and it's
Yes.
not so much like UFC
Oh,
is kind of
really?
like the real thing, but
Yeah.
WWE is just like at least for me it's like you know, it's a bit funnier to
Yeah.
watch.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's just silly. I don't
Okay.
know, sorry.
Okay, no worries. Sparring or competition? Fighting and sparring or fighting competition?
Oh, this is difficult.
Yeah,
I think it's competition.
competition. Okay. All right, cool. All right. Do you have any last words you want to say to anyone watching?
Um, Well, first and foremost, thank you for having me. I am like so happy to talk about jiu-jitsu anyway. So if
Yeah,
anybody like bumps into me and talk to me about jiu-jitsu, I will talk about it all day.
yeah.
And
Okay.
yeah, honestly, I think a lot of people always tell me like, "Oh, I'll get fit and I'll start." I'm like, "No, no, no. You start and you will get fit because you started."
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're ever interested in jiu-jitsu, just go for it. I swear, like the KL community is so accommodating to anyone, newcomers or even if you've been out the sport and you're coming back in after like 10 years or
Mhm,
whatever.
mhm.
Like we're just happy to have you there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's great. That's great. All right. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you all the best, in
thank
your future
you.
endeavors, especially in Jiu-Jitsu. And we'll always be supporting you all the way. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much, everyone. Okay.
thanks.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.